Esiet sveicināti raidījuma ciklā Uzzini pirms dodies, tavs drošs darba ceļvedis Eiropā. Mani sauc Andris Segliņš, un es esmu Nodarbinātības valsts aģentūras Eiropas darba mobilitātes konsultants un šī raidījuma cikla vadītājs. Raidījumos mēs apskatīsim jautājumus par darba iespējām un darba meklēšanu dažādās Eiropas valstīs, par nepieciešamām reģistrācijas procedūrām, ierodoties valstī, darba līguma slēgšanu un dzīves nosacījumiem. Katrs raidījums būs veltīts vienai valstī, un šodienas raidījumā mēs runāsim par Zviedriju. Uz sarunu esmu uzaicinājis Zviedrijas nodarbinātības dienesta Eiropas darba mobilitātes konsultantu Arne Arvidsonu. Hello, Arne.
Hello, Latvia.
I would like to start our conversation with a general overview of the labor market situation, and please tell us what are the current trends of the labor market in Sweden, what employees are in demand, what is maybe a shortage, and maybe also what sectors have a surplus of employees.
Yes. Well, the labor market situation in Sweden is quite good, I would say, with an employment rate around 6.6%. For the moment, mostly by young and low-educated people. Among 70% of all manpower are working in the private sector. Maybe you know some Swedish brands as Volvo, IKEA, Skanska, Spotify, etc. Sweden has for the moment a lack of manpower in several sectors. We have a big demand for engineers, for example, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, engineers for the automotive industry, etc. We also have a great demand for manpower in the IT and tech sector, looking for software programmers with different experience of programming as C#, .NET, C, C++, Java, or other object-oriented languages and embedded systems. The healthcare sector has a demand where we need doctors, nurses, as well as assistant nurses. Another sector with lack of manpower is the hospitality field, where there is a demand for chefs and cooks all around in Sweden in summer season, as well as in the mountains in the winter season, but also all the year around in bigger cities as Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö. Teachers in mathematics and different languages, but also dentists and veterinarians are in demand. Other qualified competencies needed in Sweden are car mechanics, electricians, bus and truck drivers. Yes, that was the need of manpower that we have in Sweden. But we also have some surpluses. So, for example, janitors, cleaners, and journalists, we don't need so many for the moment. Yes, this was a short overview of the labor market in Sweden for the moment.
Yes, we see that quite wide range of sectors where you need person candidates and demand for new employees. If we talk further about looking for a job in Sweden, then where and how to look for a job?
I will tell you, the most used way to find jobs all over Sweden is to have a look in the database of open vacancies, something named Platsbanken on Swedish. This is published by the Swedish Public Employment Office, and you will find it on the homepage of the Swedish Public Employment Office, a strange name named arbetsförmedlingen.se. Maybe you will give some written information.
We will put it also in the chat this address. Yes, it's okay.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect then. Most job offers in the database is of course written in Swedish, but with a translation tool online, as Google Translate, for example, or other tools, it's easy to translate the information in the job offers to your language. Another database I will say something about that could be useful is named jobsinstockholm.com with job offers written in English. This database don't only have job offers in Stockholm, even if the name says just Stockholm. There is also a lot of recruitment agencies in Sweden you can contact. Use, for example, Google with the words recruitment companies Sweden, and then you will find all of them. There are a lot of job offers there. Many of them written in Swedish, but some also written in English. And of course, use social media as LinkedIn and Facebook. A good idea could be to follow EURES Sweden at both LinkedIn and Facebook for updated and useful information. Daily and local newspapers contain, of course, a lot of job offers, mostly advertised online. And also there you can use Google, and then you can write Swedish newspapers online, and you will find an overview and links to most all daily newspapers online in Sweden.
Yes, and what is you also mentioned as the social networks? Is it popular practice in Sweden to search, or I think it's a common practice that more and more information is go to social networks, and then companies also use social networks as a source for finding candidates.
Yes, social networks is always very, very useful and important. But just as I said, to use the social medias and use the LinkedIn especially is a very important way to show yourself that you are there, and you can show your competencies and so on. It's we're using it worldwide. So
yeah, thank you. And we already touched the question about language, and of course, if you are looking for a job in another country, then issue of knowledge of foreign languages is irrelevant. How important is knowledge of Swedish language for job search, and maybe what other languages could be useful?
Yes. If you want to work in Sweden, it's of course always a good idea to have in mind to learn some Swedish. I will say that most Swedes understand and speak English because we learn it from early times in school. This doesn't mean you can speak English in all workplaces in Sweden. But there are workplaces where just English could be enough, for example, in the engineering and the IT sectors, as well as in the hospitality field. If you will stay permanent in Sweden, Swedish for Immigrants is an educational program for newbies where you learn Swedish and about the Swedish society. The concept is simple. Free Swedish courses for all newbies over 16 who legally reside in Sweden and who lack knowledge in the Swedish language. There are also language training courses online you can use before you go to Sweden. If you Google the word Swedish online, you will find suggestions of online training courses.
Thank you. And go further. For instance, if I have found a suitable job offer, the next step, of course, is apply for a job. What is the common practice of applying for a job? Candidate usually needs to submit an application and then CV, or is it also still practice that you go to employer directly or call to employer? What is the practice in Sweden?
How to apply for a job then? Yes, when you apply for a job, you will always turn directly to the employer you wish to work for. Most employers want to have your CV and cover letter sent to them by email. But also more and more common is also that many companies have a web link to a recruitment tool where you must register your CV and cover letter. You will often see these recruitment tools on the company's website or in the advert.
Yes, the CV then is very important.
Yeah.
How to prepare a good CV, especially for Sweden? What is the common practice? CV format? What is the format? Length? Maybe what to include? Should attach a photo? What is the practice in Sweden?
Yeah. An application to a Swedish employer should consist of a CV and a cover letter that in most countries. A CV, also known as a resume, that's, as you know, maybe is a summary of your professional background. Your CV should be 1 to 2 pages long, not longer, and include an overview of your work experience, studies, achievements, or awards. But even language skills and other special skills and references should be included. Always put your last experience first on your CV when you're looking for a job in Sweden. Your contact information should always be included at the top of the first page. Most Swedish employers find it as a very good idea if you will put a photo of yourself at the top of the first page of the CV. Of course, it's not absolutely necessary, but it's a good thing to do. Your cover letter should not be more than 1 page long. Your cover letter should outline why you are the right person for the position. Rather than simply listing your CV merits, try to make connections between what the company asks for in the job listing and your own skills and experience. This is your chance, as I see it, to show the employer why you are the best person for the job.
In Europe, there is also known as this Eiropā CV. Is it widely used in Sweden?
Sometimes it's used, but it's not so common, I will say. So try it in the other way on the first time, I will say. But of course, you can use Eiropā CV.
Yeah. And one additional question, how important are reviews from previous employer if we are looking for a job?
Yes, it's of course of some importance with the references or overview. So if you have 1 or 2 references that you can put in your CV, it's of course very good, because if you don't have it, maybe you will be asked for it later. So if you have good references, yes, put them there, 1 or 2.
It's a big plus, yeah?
Yeah.
So if our job application has been successful and our employer has accepted our candidacy, the next step is to travel to Sweden and start working relations. What registration procedures will be required on arrival in Sweden?
Yes, as an EU citizen, you have the right to work in Sweden without a work or a residence permit. If you tend to reside in Sweden, you shall always register at the tax office. That's the first thing you have to think of. And this process is called folkbokföring on Swedish. You have to remember the name because it's of big importance. Even if you stay for a short time to work in Sweden during the summer season, for example, you need to register at the tax office and apply for a coordination, or I would say a pre-coordination number, something called samordningsnummer on Swedish. And you need this for all contacts with authorities, banks, if you want to open a bank account, for example, and with the healthcare. Also, your employer need it so they can register you in their own database, so they can pay your salary. So when you have a contract with a Swedish employer, you can already, before you leave your home country, apply online for the pre-coordination number at the Swedish tax office. And they have a homepage named skatteverket.se. And if you will stay for a longer time, more than a year or permanent, you will automatically receive a permanent coordination number, something called personnummer or personal number in English.
Yes, this is also very important information, and we will put this website on the chat.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah.
Then next, when we start employment, of course, it's necessary to conclude an employment contract. And tell us, an employment contract is included, how it is concluded in Sweden, and what working conditions are included in an employment contract.
I will try to tell you. A job in Sweden can be either a permanent or a temporary position. Most permanent positions are preceded by a trial period of 3 to 6 months, during which the employer can fire an employee at will. But once a position is permanent, certain conditions must be met before an employer is allowed to fire an employee. And in accordance with EU law, Swedish employers must provide the employee with a written contract within 30 days of if he or she requests one. And the EURES network encourages all employees to request a written contract from their employer. Full time at Swedish workplace is 40 hours per week. And all workers in Sweden receive at least 5 weeks of paid vacation per year. But it could be more depending on where you are working, age, and for how long time you have been working. Something that differs, and unlike many other countries, is that Sweden has no minimum wage law. Instead, wages are set by collective agreements between employers and unions, and therefore labor unions could be a good source of information on salary levels in Sweden.
Yes, thank you. And I also want to ask an additional question related to social protection. And I know that unlike most European countries, unemployment insurance in Sweden is not based on only on social contributions, but on a voluntary basis. Please comment this.
Yes, it's based on a voluntary basis, and that means you had to have a membership in something called an a-kassa. And you will pay an amount of money every month to be a member in this a-kassa. And but it's a very good working system. But you, as you said, you need to take a contact yourself with an a-kassa to be a member and pay this amount of money each month. It's not so much, but if you get unemployed, it's of course easy that you have some unemployment insurance. So a-kassa, that's the Swedish name for unemployment insurance, I would say.
Yes, I think it's a little bit different from other countries, and it's important to know also this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Then when we are going to another country for work, of course, finding housing also is another important issue. And how and where to search for housing in Sweden, and maybe some average costs?
Yes, in Sweden, you can either buy or rent a house or an apartment. In the rental market, you will find both private and municipal landlords. Rental apartments are more common than houses, though those can also be found. But most rentals are, most rentals are unfurnished. Whether you buy or rent accommodation, you will always find a cooker, fridge, and freezer in place. Heating and water are generally included in the rent. Other services such as electricity, broadband, etc., may or may not be included. It depends a little bit from time to time and from apartment to apartment. The most difficult thing is, of course, to find an accommodation, and to find it, it is always a good idea to look in local newspapers online, as I told you a little bit about earlier. State agencies and personal contacts are all good ways to find accommodation in Sweden, if you are here, of course. And of course, when you have a contact with an employer, don't forget to ask your employer if they can provide something for you, or maybe they have, often I will say, they have the contacts that could be useful in finding some accommodation. Yes, and then something about the monthly rate. It varies, of course, greatly from town to town. If you are living in the central part of Stockholm, you will pay a lot of money for an apartment compared to if you are living in the northern part of Sweden in a small village. But we can say that one room apartment in average you will find a price around 450 euros per month. And and the same thing there, if you have a second room apartment in average, it will be around 650 euros per month, etc. But of course, once again, it varies a lot depending on where in Sweden you're living. But just to give you some kind of overview.
Yeah, I think it's a common practice that in bigger cities, these expenses are a bit more, and then in the smaller cities or villages, it's also less, and then maybe easier to find. Yes, maybe you can give also some examples for costs of living in Sweden.
The cost of living, it's quite high in Sweden, but not the worst in Europe, I will say. But we can say also that the salaries in Sweden, they correspond more or less to the costs in Sweden. Worth to note is that the costs will vary a lot also depending on where in Sweden you are living. If you go back to the example with a rent for accommodation, it's of course, if you're living in a big city or in the middle of Stockholm, it's quite expensive, and it's much more better outside the bigger city. Just to give you some examples of costs, very important for Swedes is to drink coffee. I don't know how much coffee you will drink in Latvia, but something you will learn when you come to Sweden is that we are coffee drinkers. We drink a lot of coffee in Sweden, so that's important for you. So 1 kilogram of coffee will cost for the moment 6 to 7 euros, and we need it, so we have to pay for it. Another Another thing that we drink a lot of is, of course, milk. Coffee and milk is important for Swedes, and 1 liter of milk is around 1.5 euros for the moment. Lunch at a cafe. We have a tradition of going out and eating lunch. Of course, you can make your own lunch and take with you to your workplace, but it's common that around 12 o'clock you will go outside and eat the lunch, and the lunch at the cafe for the moment costs something between 10 and 15 euros. And the last example, on your free time, maybe you would like to go to cinema, then you will pay around 15 euros.
Yeah, thank you. And at the end of our conversation, please tell us why to choose Sweden as destination country for work and living.
Yes, Sweden is well known, I think, for prioritizing the quality of life in its labor laws. For example, parents of children up to a certain age have the right to work part-time, a right of which many Swedes take advantage of. Parents who miss work in order to take care of a sick child can also receive compensation for lost income. Sweden has also generous laws for parental leave for new parents. That's something from the labor market lives, but other reasons to move to Sweden. Yes, it's of course Sweden, as we think, is a beautiful country. It's a long country with a lot of space, and it differs a lot from the southern part to the northern part. In the northern part, you will find mountains and possibilities to skiing. There are not so many people living in a quite big country. We are just 10.5 million citizens, and actually we are the third biggest country in the EU area. I think only France and Spain are bigger countries if you look to the area. So it means you have a lot of space on your spare time, and you are free to get out in the nature and enjoy it. We have something that is named allemansrätten. That's a thing we are a little bit proud of in Sweden. Allemansrätten means that you have the right of public access to the nature. It means more or less that you can go everywhere in the nature, maybe not put up a tent in your neighbor's garden, but very close to, so that you're free to go everywhere. So yes, there are some reasons why to go to Sweden, and of course a good labor market.
I will thank you, Arne, for interesting conversation and useful information. Thank you. Un,
Thank you.
Skatītāji, arī jums paldies par skatīšanos mūsu raidījumam. Un, ja ir nepieciešama informācija par darbu un dzīvošanas nosacījumiem Eiropas valstīs, sociālo drošību Eiropā, kā arī starpvalstu nodokļu jautājumiem vai citiem, tad noteikti varat apmeklēt mūsu Nodarbinātības valsts aģentūras mājaslapu, EURES sadaļu, vai arī varat kontaktēties ar mums, ar mūsu Nodarbinātības valsts aģentūras EURES konsultantiem. Paldies vēlreiz visiem un uz tikšanos nākošajā raidījumā.